Hey guys, this is EJ Holland with the Wolverine.com, and I was in both Washington, D.C. and Pennsylvania this weekend. Start off with Washington, D.C. That was my first stop. Had a chance to see a great game there between Gonzaga and Archbishop Carroll, two notable programs in the DMV. And it gave me a look at both on 300 Michigan offensive line commit Evan Link and five-star athlete target Nyckoles Harbor. I know everybody wants to hear about Harbor, but let's start off with Link. I mean, he was dominant. Going into this game, I had Link graded really high, had him right up there with Eno Etta as one of the top guys into 2023 class. After evaluating him live, I think Evan Link is the guy. I think he's the number one guy in Michigan's 2023 recruiting class so far. He just checks so many boxes. He has great footwork, elite technique, a really high football IQ. Along with that, his frame is really impressive. He has a great build in his lower half. He has really long arms and can add a lot of good weight and strength. And you know Ben Herbert's going to get him right in Michigan's strength and conditioning program. So again, checks a lot of boxes. And then when you looked at him in game, he was great in pass pro, which was expected out of him. I mean, he does project as more of a true tackle, can play left or right. But what impressed me a ton was just his run blocking. I mean, he's so physical. When he had to down block on doubles, I mean, he punished people. When he had to get to the next level and peel off doubles and find a linebacker and maybe even a defensive back, he was so athletic that he looked comfortable moving in space and finding guys to block. And that's the thing about Link is he never took a play off. He was always blocking somebody. You know, that random dad that always yells, block somebody? You never had to hear that the whole game for Link because he literally was always blocking somebody. I mean, that was great to see. He has a lot of stamina. He had to go one-on-one against Nyckoles Harbor, for a few drives. And I thought he just did terrific. I mean, the whole night he was relentless, nonstop aggression, never taking plays off. And that's the type of offensive lineman that's going to succeed at the University of Michigan. On the flip side of the coin, you had Nyckoles Harbor. Man, Nyckoles is the biggest freak that I've covered in my entire decade of doing this. I mean, I've never seen a guy that's 6'5", 225 pounds that runs a 10.28 100 meter. I mean, he looks absolutely huge in a football uniform. His speed off the edge is insane. So that track speed translates over to him as a pass rusher. And I mean, there was one play where he flew into the backfield and made a tackle for loss where you're just like, wow, that happened in like half a second. He did, pressure the quarterback quite a bit as well, came away with a pass deflection, a number of hurries, and he also had a sack. And that sack actually showed off his power. He went one-on-one with Link, and that was one of the rare occasions where Link actually lost a rep the whole game. But he went one-on-one with Link and just overpowered Link, put him on his back, and recorded a sack. So that was definitely good to see. I think that Harbor's rare combination of speed, athleticism, power could make him a number one overall draft pick as an edge one day. However, Harbor wants to be an Olympic track sprinter, and so he thinks that he can take care of his body by playing more offense, and that's fine. I do think he can be a high-level player on the offensive side of the ball as well, though I think his biggest upside is on defense. But as an offensive player, I think he still has some work to do. I think he can still become more of a natural pass catcher. I definitely think he can work on his route running. But when you're that size and have that speed, you can do so many things. You can be a game-changing, tight end, split end, like a Kyle Pitts. You can throw Harbor on the outside and just let him run go routes. You can utilize him in the red zone on the outside, like a Calvin Johnson type of guy. I mean, he's so athletic that you'd kind of think he'd be better on the offensive side of the ball. But again, I think he's just more natural as a pass rusher. On the offensive side of the ball on Friday night, he only had a 26-yard reception. His quarterback struggled to find him. I did like that he lined up as an inline tight end. One question we get a lot is, can he block? And I thought he answered that question well. I thought he looked really good as a blocker. Again, I like him as more of an edge. I do think he can be a dynamite offensive player, but it might take him a little while to get going on that side of the ball. After making my way to Washington, D.C., drove up to Pennsylvania, saw on 300 Michigan linebacker commit Semaj Bridgeman. Bridgman's one of the more interesting guys in the class in the sense that he was rated extremely high early on in the process by the recruiting services, and then kind of dropped off, and then on 3 bumped him up the rankings. So his rankings literally been everywhere on multiple services. So that's a guy that I really wanted to see live. And the positives with Semaj is he is built like a tank. I mean, he's 6'1", 235 pounds. So he looks huge. I'm not worried about the 6'1". You can say that's a little on the short side, but for true inside linebackers, I don't really care. I don't really see that as a factor. I think he's actually pretty long for just being 6'1". So that he definitely showed some decent athleticism as well, but I think that's the area where he lacks more. Last year you saw Jimmy Rolder, who was a Division I baseball player, and you saw Deuce Spurlock, who was making plays as a tight end and just look explosive in space. And when you look at Bridgman, I think he lacks that speed. I think he lacks that explosion. Again, he looked decent athletically. I thought he did okay in pass coverage. But moving sideline to sideline, I'd like to see him improve there. And I think something that would help would just be cutting some of the weight. He's so big right now. So just cutting a little bit of weight and then rebuilding it up the right way. And I don't think that will be too difficult under Ben Herbert at Michigan. But he is a thumper. He loves to come up, fill gaps, hit people. He was physical. Looking at his junior film, he took really good angles, but used a lot of arm tackling as opposed to just smacking guys and making good tackles. You can see that his tackling technique has improved, and you can see that his physicality has improved, and I think he's just upped his game overall. He transferred to Philadelphia Imhotep Charter this offseason, which is one of the premier programs in the Northeast. He's gotten some really good coaching. He plays with other D1 players. And so, again, I think that's just really taken his game to the next level. Still, I'm not sure I would grade him as a top 300 prospect like on 3. I would probably grade him a little bit of outside of that as a 4-star, but I really want to see him again. He did have a good game, 8 tackles, a sack, but just want to see him again, want to see that explosion, want to see that speed. But that's kind of a wrap from my time seeing a pair of commits and a big target on the road. As always, guys, subscribe to the Wolverine, $1 for 1 year right now.